We're starting to record.
Okay, well, welcome everybody to a second attempt at at a meeting. So we can, I think we had a little history on this on the last before we were shut down, and I think we can take up. And we've had some comments by other board members, specifically Andrea, who sent in her viewpoint on the issue, but basically is in favor of seeing the Vasiloff sale go through to the Tevises, and is in favor of granting permission to ride horseback on the properties, on the open space property. Obviously, this would have to be our vote today. However it goes, would be a vote to send it on to the Board of Selectmen and for their, and also to have it reviewed by our attorney, and probably would need to be reviewed by the Nature Conservancy as holder of the conservation easement. So anybody else want to weigh in?
Yeah, I wanted to make a point, and I think Andrea made the same point, Evan.
Yeah.
I was looking at the analysis by the Tevis's attorney, and I guess it's the second page of the document, but he cites Connecticut statute that would provide the town with substantial protection from liability for injuries resulting from use. And he said that is available to an owner of a land who makes the land available to the public without charge, rent, or fee.
Right.
So I'm wondering if we were to collect rent, so to speak, from a lease, if it would negate the protections of that document.
Well, I think it's a good point, and one that I think we should explore with our own attorney, but I also think that maybe instead of a lease, having some kind of a memorandum of understanding in place of a lease would give us some protection, and also give the Tevises some protection as well.
That's exactly what I was gonna suggest, Evan. The attorney can negotiate with their attorney about an alternative to a lease, and
Right.
It would certainly be nice if open space had that quote rent unquote coming into the open space fund, but nothing would prevent Mr. Tevis from making a voluntary donation in lieu of that.
Right. Yeah.
I also think in the documents that are prepared, and this is why I don't want to get too specific, but there needs to be a responsibility of the Tevises to maintain their horse trails, like removal of manure. And I also want to mention, as I discussed with you, I think we need to figure out what trails they can be on, and limit it, make sure they know they're limited to those trails. I had mentioned earlier how on the Green Trail, on the swap parcel that we did with the Vasiloffs in the purchase, there was a right-of-way reserved by the Vasiloff family to their land to the north. If you look at our trail map.
To the Abrahamson land.
Right. Well, Vasiloff, Abraham.
Yes.
Interchange.
Right.
Okay. And so that's where I would recommend that they use that 25-foot right-of-way rather than go a little farther and then they connect to the land trust instead of dead ending there. And then on the red trail, the loop trail, is where that our trail goes off to the right. I think there's a wood road there. I have to verify this, that goes over to the sawmill and connects to the leased loop area of a horse trail. So they could use that and would not then go over to the Old Lyme Land Trust. So we'd have to verify that those would be the two trails they could use. They would not have use of the yellow trail or of Rook's Meadow.
Okay, well, I think I think um, the use of any land trust property is going to be between the Tevises and the land trust. I don't think we need to be involved in, and unless if the land trust does approve the uh, approve the use of the lay property for horseback riding, and they already have a horseback riding lease with the Lime Trails Association over on the Loman property.
Well, it's a memorandum of
A
understanding.
memorandum of understanding. Well, they can use that as a model, and I think we might think about using that as a model as well.
I think so too. And we could add to that memorandum of understanding that provisions to protect both parties. If we do a lease has to go to town meeting and be approved by the town.
Yeah.
Which is another step to follow.
Let me ask you a quick question. I know none of us are lawyers, but I know you've been involved in real estate for, is it possible to do a lease without compensation, Evan?
No, usually not. It's usually for $1 or
Yeah.
other consideration, but I'm not sure what other consideration. I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know what other consideration means.
Yeah, I thought that. I mean, even the dollar technically
It's a money.
could
Yeah.
trigger that exclusion from the statute's protection.
Well, exactly.
I totally didn't understand what that lawyer said, because everything I know about it, and I've read it dozens of times, if you take money, you lose your liability shield.
And we still face going to town meeting to present this.
Right.
I would say if we voted in favor to present it to the Board of Selectmen tonight and then refer it to the town attorney for his review and his decision on what the next steps should be.
Yeah.
But I think in that, I don't know whether to put, I don't want to hamstring anybody, but if we don't want a lease, we would prefer to have a memorandum of understanding, or let the attorney determine that. Because I think after the attorney's reviewed all this, written the documents, then it's going to come back to us to make another decision. So I think we have that protection layer built in. The attorney can negotiate with the Tevis's attorney and, work out any of the details, and then it will come back to us and to see if we vote to accept it. And we could then go back to the board or a selectman or whatever, but I think we have a few more steps that need to be anticipated in this.
Yeah. Amanda, just a quick question on your exclusion of Rook's Meadow from horses. If they stayed on the trail through Rook's Meadow, what harm would that do?
Well, that's just a mowed trail, but right next to it, Evan, remember when we had the that hiking association and we took down all those conveyor belt fences?
Oh, yeah.
A beautiful wide wood road that goes right by.
Yeah.
And the only reason I exclude Rook's Meadow is I just kind of feel that it's a place that people go for numerous reasons. We get some painters out there. We get people out there just sitting on the bench. It's almost like, in my mind, it would be like a small mindfulness trail. And I think horses going through it might be disruptive to people. So I was just trying to keep them off, because it's just a short distance and then the trail merges.
Right. No, I understand that. I was just wondering about your thoughts as to why Rook's Meadow should be excluded. That's fine.
The other reason is if you look at Tree in the Gap Trail, and right on the trail map, right below it is a Vasilos, the farm that they're selling.
Yeah,
They may prefer to ride up there and go to the right of way and not even go to the left. I don't know. They have that option, but
yeah,
uh, I don't know. I think Evan, you and I are going to have to, whatever decision we make and the Board of Selectmen make today, we're going to have to double check with the Tevises that this is acceptable and
yeah,
pick up the check for the attorney and go from there.
yeah.
You
Okay.
know, I don't want to, I don't know whether to include it in part of the motion or say we'll talk to the Tevises and just leave it horseback riding. But I think there just needs to be some trails that aren't,
Well, I
occupied
agree
by
with
horses.
the yellow trail because it's a dead end. I mean, it
Yeah.
goes from the red trail and then dead ends at John Pfeiffer's property or at Whippoorwill Road, and then you have to turn around and go all the way back. And there's there are brooks and wet areas, and so it may not be
And
a
narrow
good-
trails. So I think, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to, when I gave you the two options on the trails, if they get to the end of the red trail and they're on land trust property at this point, they'd have to turn around. And
Yeah.
this way, that they could connect to the sawmill, and we'd have to make sure Nature Conservancy, we are limited to the number of trails we can make. So that's why it's going to be a discussion, for the attorney, for
Yeah.
Nature Conservancy and us.
Now, they're going to have to be satisfied with the trails we have, I think now, because I don't think we need to making new trails for the horseback riders.
Right. And then the other thing is the tree in the Gap Trail where it connects to the Vassiloff Abrahamson.
Yeah,
Just north of there is that Fraser piece that they picked up on Bayberry.
yeah,
And I've walked that, and that's very flat and would maybe be appropriate for a continuation of a horse trail there. When they go to the land trust, when they're saying their trails are very narrow, that Bayberry piece is flat as a pancake.
yeah,
So, I mean, that's
Okay.
their decision, obviously not ours, but I
Yeah.
just
right.
find a way, get to the bigger picture so we see, how it could possibly work if we decide to.
Yeah. Well, there's still things to work out, but I
There's
think
lots to work out.
if we, is anybody else, Fred or Gary, who else is on? I don't see anybody.
I see Shauna Vassiloff is on and a Brent
Yes.
Crowley. So if they have any comments, we'd love to hear them.
This is Gary. Yeah, I'm in favor of the horseback riding on those trails. I just think once it goes through the Board of Selectmen, then there'll be a lot of details to get into after that.
Yeah.
And eventually Fred might be muted. Fred, I can't hear you.
I tried to speak. Now I'm unmuted. Yeah, I'd like to stay in principle. I'm in favor of supporting horseback riding on the property. It's just the practicality of it and working that out. So this may be in the memorandum that you're considering. Just a couple concerns, and this came up in Andrea's email, which is I don't believe that the horseback riding should be restricted to just the Tevis's horses or the horses that they board at their farm. So that's one concern. And also, it seems to me some kind of temporary agreement should be the first step to see how this works out and allow any modifications as necessary.
Yeah.
And I know the Tevises would like a longer term agreement. I appreciate that for their peace of mind. But this is sort of a new thing, and we have to work it out. And I'd like to protect the interests of hikers that may not be comfortable with horses or the bike riders, other sorts of people. So those are my two comments.
Good.
I think I can understand, like you said, the Tevises want a long lease. I think we need for anybody that we were offering this to, we need to allow protection for the Tevis family at this point, so that a new board, a new whim might change it. So I think they need some security to protect them. They're doing a major investment in the farm. And so, but I think that the attorneys, that's why the attorneys are there. You know, that's why they're making the big bucks. They can figure out how to work it out. I saw Shauna had a question about, she doesn't think that the trail width is an issue. I just want to point out that we have numerous types of people walking, older people, younger people, people with dogs on leash, people with dogs not on leashes, bicycle riders. And so trail width is a concern, I think, because horses are definitely larger. And if you want to share the trails, you know, we don't want to, especially when they cross those little brooks and things, they narrow down. And
Well, I would, my comment to that is, um, that it's a new experience for us
Yeah.
and I think through experience, we'll have to work out kind of the rules of the road, so to speak. I went to a nursery, over the weekend that had a driveway that wasn't wide enough for two cars. So one has to stop and wait and the other goes by, or, you know, it would be the same thing if you're a narrow space. And I hope if someone coming back, whoever's riding the horses or the hiker or whoever can make an accommodation, step aside or whatever, that'll just be kind of something that I'm sure the Tevises would be interested in trying to make sure that everybody follows, you know, proper trail procedure from their suggested signs and so forth. And I don't see that as an insurmountable issue.
I think we have some models, again, with the Lime Trails Association, which is was started under Jane Davison and on her property, and then has been expanded to include the Lohman property, which is part of the land trust. And I think that they have, you know, sort of rules and regulations about trail use. And normally, when I've been hiking on the Davison property and meet horseback riders, the hikers can just step to the edge of the trail and let the horseback riders go by. But I also think that perhaps we ought to consider having some kind of a leash dog leash program on the McCulloch property. We heard from Dave McCulloch and Anna Holland about the dogs running onto private property and disturbing the neighbors, and so I think in deference to that, and maybe with the new use of horseback riding, we need to rein in the dogs a little bit. Much as I hate to, because our dog always was rarely on a leash, but she also was pretty much with us and under our control. But that's not always the case, and it's always the minority that creates the issues that we're hearing about.
well, I think that's something to discuss at one of our meetings.
Yeah, yep. And I think the sooner the better.
Okay, well,
It doesn't have to be on all open space properties in town, but for those those properties that do allow horseback riding, like the McCulloch property, it may be a prudent thing to do.
I would add, Evan, it's a little bit of apples and oranges, but I have a friend who's on the board of a Canton Land Trust, and they have a big field that a trail crosses that they're trying to is it the cottontail rabbit? They're trying to bring that back.
Yeah, the New England cottontail.
So they require dogs to be on leashes going through that trail. Otherwise, the dogs just chase the rabbits.
Yeah, well, it's the Guilford Land Trust has a leash law for all of their properties, and they have, you know, thousands of acres, Westwood Trails and many others in Guilford. It's a hugely active land trust. But their feeling is that dogs running free can chase bunnies and they disturb ground nesting birds and so forth and so on. So it's it may be something to look into. And I think, did Greg, did you get in touch with Amy Patterson about dog use on various land trusts?
No, I did not.
Okay, I thought somebody did.
I
But
think
anyway,
Andrea did. I think Andrea, because she was on that board. we
Yeah,
asked
yeah.
Andrea to do that.
Yeah.
Are we ready to put together a
motion.
motion and to accept?
I just have a question
Okay.
to clarify, not to beat this to death, but who's going to eventually have the rights to ride horses on the property? And I realize that because of access considerations, it's unlikely that other people are going to be able to ride, but it still may come up in the future. So I know in the lease agreement they said non-exclusive. So
Yeah, I think that they're feeling that they would probably have sort of de facto exclusive use, as you point out, but they're not looking legally for exclusive use of the property. So I think it's going to be it'll be open to the public. And as far as I can see, the only place that you could take a horse, you start a horseback ride on the McCulloch property would be Flat Rock Hill.
I think I'd wait for the attorney to advise
Yeah,
us.
And I think,
yeah.
I just, I think if we put too many restraints on the attorney, then I don't know. I'd like to say, here's the question. What do you recommend? What does the Nature Conservancy say about this? And then have them get back to us and see what our options are.
I mean, I would feel very uncomfortable granting rights to that property to one family and excluding.
I concur with you, Fred. I think that's an issue that we'll have to address.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's public land. It's not like a land trust, which is privately held by a nonprofit, private nonprofit. And so this is public access. And whether somebody's on a bicycle or on a horse, on the back of a horse, it's still public land.
But we can certainly, we are managing it. That's our charge, to protect and preserve. So we could put up, for example, a sign that says no horse trailers entry in the Gap parking lot. So maybe it would be something like that, because, as Gary has brought out, it's not the best location for pulling out. And I can't imagine a horse trailer pulling out it. So, and we need, where we don't want horses, we need to post signs like on the Yellow Trail, no horseback riding. So and we need to check with Ed to see if he feel in Public Works to get his thoughts on parking at the cul-de-sac at Flat Rock. And then we need to make clear, my concern is that Flat Rock is that trail to that little trail off of the cul-de-sac that connects to the trail is very narrow. And we want to make sure that the horses do not go on that roadway to the houses, even though we own that. So that's what I mean. Let's give it to the attorney, convey our concerns, let him negotiate with the Tevis's attorney, with the Nature Conservancy. The Tevis's will be footing the bill for this. So, and then come back with his proposal to us and see what we say.
Okay. Let me throw this out, Evan. If you like, I've been kind of jotting down what we've been talking about. We can make a motion, and I can give you some updated minutes that you could present to the selectmen this evening.
That would be great.
Yes. So if you're going to give us a motion now, Greg?
I can make a motion that the Open Space Commission agrees in principle to allow the Tevises to use horses on McCulloch family trails, contingent upon review by attorneys and the Nature Conservancy. And I would leave it at that, and within the minutes, I'll raise the issues that we discussed today.
I think that's a great motion. I just have,
Sure, if you want
Do we,
to make a new
do we have
motion.
do we have a second?
oh, that's right. I'll second it.
Okay. Now we can discuss.
Okay, thank you. You're always my Robert's rules. In that motion, do we need to say it needs to come back to us for final approval? That's my only thought.
Well, I guess it depends on what the word in principle is, because we haven't agreed in detail. We've
Okay,
agreed
so we can
generally.
leave it open, so,
Yep.
yeah. And do we need to, in principle, but we need to, I think, relay to the attorney, sooner better than later?
Yes, because the Tevises have a timeline, and I'm sure Shauna knows what that, it's sometime mid-May, but I'm not sure exactly the deadline, but we need to move on it relatively quickly because of their, I don't know whether they now have a times of the essence clause in their contract. But, obviously we don't want to make the Vasilovs wait too much longer.
Right, and I think after our meeting this morning, and if a motion gets approved, and Shauna just says we're extended to the end of May, their contract.
Okay, well,
We're going to the Board of Selectmen tonight, and hopefully for their approval. And then I think that one or two of us need to meet with the Tevises to make sure they understand in principle where we're coming from, like Rooks Meadows and the which trails. And if they're agreeable, then I think they need to give us a check, and then we will present it to our attorney.
good.
Yeah. So Evan, are you around Thursday or Friday? Are you booked?
I'm around Thursday. I'm not around Friday. We're leaving for Maine Friday morning.
Okay, Shauna, maybe you can check with the Tevises, maybe Evan and I. Thursday, I'm pretty open. I just, maybe we could, meet with the Tevises to, if everything gets approved, so they'll understand where we're coming from, and they'll be, if they want to continue forward, they need to bring a check. So, I guess, any more discussion on this?
So just to be clear, the concerns we have, you're going to raise those in a conversation with the Tevises. That's the way to
Yes.
approach
Yes.
this.
Right.
Because, time is of the essence. So the clearer we are at this point of what our concerns are, it'll avoid delays going forward.
And then it's something they can discuss with their attorney. So when our attorney contacts them, we can work something like this out. If they're end of May and this is May 2nd, and if we've given the attorney hopefully like 30 days, they're going to have to extend the contract. And if it ends up being a lease, it's going to have to go to town meeting. But I really applaud all of you. I think we have done our due diligence. We have moved this along quickly, and we're not dealing with Walgreens. We're dealing with a municipal owned property, and we have to respect the rights of everyone to this property. So,
And so just so I'm clear on it, the main points are, one, the limited use that you talked about, and a memorandum of understanding.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's not included in the actual motion, Fred, but I am going to enter those in the minutes, and I'll share the minutes with everybody today.
Right.
we will give them to the town attorney when he
Yes.
sees. So that's why I think it's important that we meet with the Tevises on Thursday to say, this is what we would like to see. And if they feel comfortable with it, then we'll take the check and make an appointment. I'll make an appointment with the attorneys next week to start this in motion. And it's also contingent upon the Board of Selectmen backing this. Because if they say no, then it kind of dead ends it now. But I've spoken to, Ev and I both spoken to Tim, and he's expressed an interest.
Yeah.
So Shauna asked, what's the best way for them to contact us Evan, for a meeting on Thursday. Can you,
I've got an Thursday. I'm just checking my calendar,
Okay.
Amanda. Thursday morning, I have a 9:30 appointment to take my sister to the doctor.
okay.
So maybe by 11.
Or do you want to go into the afternoon and go 1? That will give you time to,
Yeah, one would be fine.
and then, Evan, can we, 1 PM? Do you want to meet at, the
We can meet. Why don't we meet at the town hall? It's a nice central place.
Oh, okay. The meeting room, so we'll go there.
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking, a meeting over at Rooks Meadow, only because I wanted to check Jimmy Spillway. But I'll do that.
Let me just toss this out too. We have no idea of what the Tavis's schedule is, but more important, we have no idea if they're going to be in town or traveling or whatever. So you guys could also meet virtually with them at that time if need be. And I can check with Michelle whether you can use WebEx or you can. I think anybody can meet with Zoom for a half hour with a free account.
Yeah, or
I can set that up.
Okay. So Shauna, if 1 PM in the town hall, and we won't have to advertise or anything, we're not taking minutes, it's not, it's just like we.
It would not be a meeting because there would not be a quorum.
Right. And
Right.
so if they can't do it at 1 on Thursday at the town hall, let us know and we'll set up a meeting like we did before, so they can call in or do a web.
Yeah, that would be just probably the easiest, is just kind of
All right. Shauna says, sounds like a plan. Well,
Okay.
let's like hope that it doesn't go like all good plans. Shauna, we'll be at the Board of Selectmen. Meeting today is at 5:30. All are welcome to attend. We're first on the list, so it won't be brief. So, but now back to the motion, Evan.
yes. Is there any further comment or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. We will take it to the Board of Selectmen tonight.
Okay.
And thank you all for
I
your
move to adjourn.
thank you all for your time and your great attention and comments. So I think, as Amanda said, we've done our due diligence, and I appreciate everybody's input.
Before we adjourn, I just have 2 things I want to mention. Hikers Happy Hour on Wednesday, and I just got the poster, so I'll put one up in the town hall. And I am still collecting for money for a gift to the Connecticut Humane Society for Jim Mildren's wife who passed recently, Linda. If you want to give, but you don't want to, you can't meet with me, just let me know if you want to donate $10 and I'll include you and you can pay me at the meeting. But I just want to get this off soon.
Yep. Put me in on that, Amanda.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Okay, I think that does it for right now, and we will.
Amanda,
Yes.
Amanda, that happy hour flyer you got, can you put that in an email to me so I can send it out to a bunch of people?
Suzanne sent it to me, so I'll forward it to you, but let me
Okay.
give me your email address. I'm not sure I have it.
All right. It's
Actually, you know what, Greg, can I send it to you and then you send it to all the meeting?
Yes,
members?
that's fine.
Okay, so I'll do that. It's easier if it goes through him. He's got everybody all lined up, but, okay, thank you. We have, I think Greg made a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
So at 9:37, we adjourned. Evan, are you home for a few minutes? Can I give you a call?
Yep.